Hello and welcome to the channel. We're doing something pretty different today, I would say. Let me get this in so I can kind of calibrate where to keep my cards. Okay. So we're going to do a case study today. What I like to do is take the tarot and I use it as a case study to investigate what's going on within the current energy of the person that is seeing this. So it's for entertainment purposes, and if you get some sort of message out of it, awesome, or just be entertained by what the cards are saying. It's obviously my perception of the cards. There are some decks I will tell you that I think are funny. I think decks have a personality, so to speak. So just depending on the deck that I choose, it can be interesting. And then there's honestly some decks that are a little bit hard. I don't know if harder is that's an interesting term. It's like it's a little bit more serious energy. Like there's typically more of a deeper meaning where the cards are actually trying to pull you out of some sort of mental stuckness. So we use this channel for the highest light, highest vibration, and that's that. So let's get into it. Let's do this case study. So I did just create this new spread because I love doing Sherlock Holmes type of investigations, so to speak. So, ooh, and this is going to be interesting, you guys, because I can already tell the deck that I'm pulling, which is this guy. This is what I was talking about when I said it's more of, well, it's like a deep deck. It's one that's like wanting to really capture what's going on in the subconscious. So, I mean, it could be funny too. So let's just see what comes out or wants to come out, and we'll go from there. All right. So what is this case study about? Meaning, what is the current energy? Okay, for right now, we're going to go with these cards. There is a, let's see. Okay. Thanatos. I said that so weird. Let's. All right, so the first thing I'm noticing is death and mourning. Bearing witness to all that is. That's interesting. All right, let's keep going. So that's our case. The case is we're trying to investigate what kind of death is happening or what kind of witness according to this. I'm trying to see this energy here. Oh, it's a baby's foot. There's so many different images in this. I didn't realize that. So we have a face in a tree. We have two hands holding each other. We have a hand and a foot. Okay, let's just go on. Let's see what the, so what evidence, what do we have? The sword. There's some truth. There's a truth that needs to come out. I mean, there's so much imagery that comes out with this. I don't know. I'm being kind of brought to share this with you. Just if you are a reader, I feel like you'll definitely already know this. If you're not, well, welcome to reading. Just so you know, all the meanings are going to be different for each person. So the way I perceive things is that the way these symbols are symbolic to me is how God communicates through me or with me. So for me, when I see the sword of many things, okay, but especially with this one, there's a truth. And sometimes truth can be sharp and it cuts through, but it cuts through the noise. There's some symbolism within this with even the lightning striking, like there's a big truth that's coming in. I almost feel like this is what's happened. There's been some sort of either death that has come in, and there may be some sort of truth that you need to come to with the ending of this. Now, I'm not sure if this is a physical death. Maybe the cards will show more, or if this is a death of an expression, of a behavior, of a relationship. I almost feel like it could be different for everybody, because within this we have a person, we have a hand that kind of reminds me of, I was going to say connection, but of course the hand's holding reminds me more of a connection than just the hand. It's funny, I just started hearing. Oh, that's interesting. I just started hearing like meditation music in the background. I don't even know how long that's been playing. That's interesting. All right, let's move on in the case study so we can get more information. So what's the hidden motive behind the truth coming out with this death? There's something really important that we need to see. Okay, in the forest, there's so much mystery. There's so much beauty. There's also so much wisdom within the forest. But there's so much denseness within there that I can almost see, like, you know, when you see a forest in the winter, when the trees have lost their leaves, they're a little bit more bare. You can actually see more clearly the landscape. So I feel like there's something that is being cleared away so that you can see the bones of something. That's what the hidden motive is with this loss or this death of some sort. All right, let's move on to, this is the interrogation room. All right, so this is like, what's next? What question is next? We have the mentor. What do we need to learn next? Or what do we need to learn through this? It seems like that there's something here about making sure that you're staying open to wisdom and knowledge. And the interrogation is like, what did you learn from this death? That is very important. You know, sometimes it's interesting, right? Sometimes as a reader, I like want to give you definitive answers so that I can help you. But what I've come to realize is sometimes you have to be your own mentor. And sometimes, and it feels as though, we'll see what happens in the rest of the reading, but this almost appears like this isn't, I can't tell you necessarily what it is that you need to learn once you see the truth of the form. You have to discover that. It's something within that discovery that says bearing witness to all that is. There's something important within this discovery that it allows you, I feel like it brings you some sort of peace with this loss. And it almost feels like, as I say that's something that you may not even resonate with, or you could be like, that's just stupid. Like, I'm never going to be okay with this. And hey, I'm not telling you have to. I'm like literally just telling you what I'm seeing within the cards. So I guess really that's all I have to say about that. It's not that I don't resonate with your pain, but once the pain subsides, it seems as though there's a really important, I don't know if it's important, what would I would say? What is the message? What is the message here? It's like a circle. What do, maybe that's what it is. You have to see where you keep going in a circle. That's part of, I have no idea what that would have to do with it. Or maybe a circle resonates with you and that's meant for you to figure out. But it does in some way seem like the ending is meant to show you how you're going in a circle. And it's interesting, a circle, not a spiral, because the spiral is the thing, it seems like you're not moving, but you're actually evolving. You may be going through the same things, but the way in which you're going through it is a little bit different and a little bit evolved. What I'm getting from this is that you're not evolving. It's a circle, not a spiral. Okay, so instead of, just plain circle is what you're doing, but you're meant to do this. To ascend, I suppose. All right, so then we have the mirror. It's interesting because this card is supposed to give me a reflection based on me to give to you. All right, mirror, the maiden. All right, so if the last question was, what did we learn? Then I would say, what did I learn? Oh. I don't know. Maybe you're having a hard time moving past a certain point in your life. I suppose once you get to, not I suppose, the way I can see this mirroring is that with each stage, so within these cards, we have the maiden, the mother, the crone. And it talks about kind of the stages that we go through in our life. But it's also good to know that we can simultaneously be in all three of those stages, but in different areas of our life. We might be maiden as it relates to childbearing, meaning we haven't actually had children yet. And it kind of just talks about the beginning stage of something, right? Where motherhood talks about being in the thick of it, and the crone talks about the wisdom after. So again, the way I see this mirroring is that you're having a really difficult time getting past this phase, that you're not actually seeing the beauty in the next phase. So specifically, I would say, because within this reading, the next phase would be the mother. So there's something that you may be losing. I almost want to say a sense of freedom, because the mother would talk about being more nurturing, and yes, you do need to still make sure you're taking care of yourself, but when you're talking about children, there's almost this notion of being selfless, because they're just so innocent, meaning if you leave them there, they will die. They need you to nurture them. So there has to be a selfless part of you that that is willing to take care of that vulnerable life, so to speak. Now, I'm not saying this is a child. This could also be like a next stage of development, even within a business. And what I would say to that is, if it may be in relation to a business, that the death could have very much been a job that ended, and you need to see the reason that that job ended. You know, the forest is where you see that evidence, because you see the landscape. Maybe you start seeing where that company is headed. Maybe you start seeing it wasn't aligned, and you understand this more, and it's almost like you can step into that next phase. Okay, let's see what else. So then we have the break in the case. The break in the case. The vow. It almost feels like part of what is keeping you attached, and the truth that needs to come out, is that there was some sort of oath or vow made. Even with these, it reminds me of Pentacles. So like physically there was a vow made, possibly with somebody else. And I feel like you need to free yourself from that, whatever that was. Let's see. The break in the case. So if you had to break what promise? Feel like you almost need to look at something in a really different perspective, because there could be a vow. So a lot of times, but this card in particular, the story talks about how we can sometimes make vows in our pain, in our anger, basically when we're feeling an intense emotion, whatever that may be, even in our joy, or even when we're very much in love. We can make vows that baseline energy knows is not really sustainable, and actually may not be in your best interest. So what I would say is, that's what's keeping you attached or keeping you stuck in that web. And the truth of the matter is just what I said, that it seems like this was a promise or a vow that was made with an intense feeling, and you really need to release yourself. Again, see the bear of it, see the forest through the trees, see why you really made that vow, and then come to the truth and the reality that you can decide it to empower yourself, right? And again, I feel like with the maiden, to move on. I just noticed I put on here innocent. That perhaps again with this, that promise you feel bad for breaking, you feel like you're doing something wrong, and there's maybe something righteous about being innocent or being the maiden. What I would say to that is, in this case, the way I'm reading the card in this case study, is that it's actually more important for you to follow your truth and alignment than it is to follow what is deemed as innocent. And what I find interesting, and I can't put a finger on it, but the feeling I'm getting is you may find that actually is the innocent or right way. It's just there's some sort of stuckness or some sort of thought that may keep you stuck within this, only seeing it a certain way. And the breakthrough in the case is to release yourself of that. It's like release yourself from that vow. All right, and then we have, what's the verdict? Interesting. the verdict to bridge. So it's like, okay, the verdict is in order for you to get, I would say, from this stuckness and mourning into the opposite of that, which would be flourishing and movement. We'll say this is the other part of the bridge. Interesting. So the first three things I was seeing with this particular card was honor, joy, and reverence. That's what you need to focus your attention to in order to release yourself from whatever this vow was that you made out of haste. And that's going to be the bridge that frees you, is deciding the thing that brings joy, honor, and reverence. A deep, 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 deep respect. All right, and then we have the integration plan. So how do you integrate that joy, that honor, and that reverence? And we have the animal. It's interesting because it's like, it's tuned into your primal instincts. And what's very interesting about that is a lot of times people would say, you know, your primal instincts can be the very thing that gets you in trouble. So, hold on, what is this again? This is the integration plan. Let me see what I'm seeing here. Okay. I mean, this is really simple. I just had to, it's like, don't think, just act. The reason I was hesitating bringing that message out is because that's not a message for every single interaction. And sometimes I feel like people may just take that and run with it. And I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for that. And it's just funny anyway, because I'm not responsible for anything you do based on what you see here. Because I'm just reading the cards and you have your own discernment and you're an adult. And so there's that. Okay, so very simply, it's just, you know, animals don't think, they just react. And so the way that you need to integrate this joy, honor, and reverence is just doing that. Asking yourself, is this honorable? And if the answer is yes, do it. Don't start thinking, is what I'm getting. All right, and then we have the closing statements, and we have the ring. Remember I kept seeing the ring, the circles? And we have what continues, transforms, and returns in different ways. So interesting, because that reminds me more of a spiral, and I feel like, again, the fact that this is the closing statement is more of what I was talking about. Though it is showing the ring, the sentiment that I wrote on this from the energy that I got when I read what this card was about gave me the notion that it's more of a spiral, that something, when it comes back, it may come back, but it's just a little bit more nuanced. I did have an extra card that came out, so I do want to see. We have the King, and we have, the first thing I was drawn to was divine leadership. And I will also say with the King is, the King's energy is very, very different than the Maiden. You know, the Maiden really takes, in this case, okay, not all, what I'm feeling in this case study is that this Maiden is more of follows. Not that she follows just anybody, but that she more is divinely follows, okay? Where the King is, no, I'm leading. So what I'm seeing is that there's a chance for you to lead yourself out of this continuous circle that I was talking about earlier, and to do this spiral where it may seem like you're going through the same thing, but it feels different because you're reacting different. And again, it does feel like ultimately it has to do with whatever this death or mourning, whatever that was. So that's what I have for you today. I really am kind of enjoying this case study thing. So let me know how you guys are enjoying it. I'm curious if you were to get anything out of it. If you related to this in any sort of way, I would really love to hear about it. And that's that. Thank you.